You're standing at a cemetery in Enugu, Nigeria. The sun is merciless. It's July. The earth smells like rain and rust. And right now, in this exact moment, a woman is being lowered into the ground while she's still breathing inside her coffin. Nobody knows it. Not her children, not her sister, not the priest saying prayers over the mahogany wood. Nobody, except one man. A man so invisible that nobody remembers his name until it's too late. This is the story of how one family's wealth nearly became one sister's coffin, and how the person nobody was watching turned out to be the only one worth listening to. My name is Chioma. I'm 28 years old. I have the kind of dark eyes that make people uncomfortable when you stare too long. Eyes I inherited from my grandmother, who people whispered was a healer. My mother, Neka, was a healer too, but not the supernatural kind. She was a pharmacist who built something from nothing. She didn't start with money or connections. She started with intelligence, ambition, and a refusal to accept that poverty had to be permanent. She started a chain of community health clinics across the Southeast. Clinics that saved lives. Clinics that made her respected. Clinics that one day would be worth everything. Everything, that is, to someone who'd been watching her build them. Her name was Blessing. She was my mother's younger sister. And here's the thing about relatives like Blessing. They smile at your birthday parties. They compliment your achievements. They are at every family event with a kind word on their lips and envy burning so deeply behind their eyes that you'd have to be looking for it to see it. Blessing was a nurse at one of Mama's clinics. She watched. For years, she watched. She watched Mama get recognized in the community. She watched her get celebrated. She watched wills get signed, inheritance paperwork get notarized, while her own life stayed exactly where it had always been. Stuck, invisible, overlooked. And something inside her broke. Then Mama got sick. Cancer. The kind that doesn't come fast. It comes slowly. It gives you time to say goodbye, but not enough time to prepare for the silence that comes after. Mama called us to her bedside, me, my older brother Tunde, and my younger sister Zainab, and she told us everything. The clinics would go to me. I'm a business administrator trained to run them. The house in Enugu would go to Tunde. The savings would fund Zainab's university. It was all written, notarized, legal, airtight. And Blessing was right there, playing the role of the devoted sister, holding Mama's hand, whispering prayers. We had no idea that she was committing every detail to memory, measuring the distance between what she had and what she was about to lose forever. The night before Mama died, or the night we thought she died, Blessing went into her room. She had medicine. To help you sleep, she said. Mama drank it. And in the morning, nothing made sense anymore. Mama wasn't breathing, or she was breathing so shallow, so impossibly shallow that the doctor couldn't detect it. Her skin was cold, her pupils were dilated, everything screamed death. Everything looked like the end. But it wasn't. Blessing found her. Blessing called the doctor. Blessing signed off on moving the body. She orchestrated every single step. And 3 days later, we were standing in a cemetery, all of us, watching my mother being lowered into the ground while her coffin was nailed shut, while she was still alive inside it. That's when he showed up. His name was Emeka. He was a groundskeeper at one of Mama's clinics. The kind of man you see but don't really see. The kind of man who fixes things and then disappears into the background. He lived in a small room behind the clinic, kept the place clean, kept it secure, and kept his mouth shut. Nobody noticed him. Nobody remembered his name. But Emeka had seen things that nobody had caught. He'd seen Blessing making copies of documents late at night when she thought no one was watching. He'd seen her meeting with a corrupt doctor from the hospital. He'd heard her on the phone the night before Mama collapsed. Heard her say the words that changed everything. By tomorrow, the clinics are mine, all of them. Emeka had his own ghosts. Years ago, his daughter had died, not from illness, but from negligence,
from someone in a position of power choosing money over her life. He'd been powerless then, just a groundskeeper. Nobody listened, nobody cared. But he'd learned something in that powerlessness. He'd learned to watch, to see what others missed, to recognize the shape of injustice before he finished his work. So when he saw what was happening to Mama, something inside him broke open. He couldn't be powerless again. He couldn't stay silent again. At the cemetery, as my mother's coffin touched the earth, Emeka broke through the crowd, covered in dirt, wearing the kind of clothes people look through. He grabbed the rope holding the coffin and he started shouting.
"She's breathing,"
he said.
"She's still breathing."
Everyone thought he was mad. A confused groundskeeper, a grieving relative nobody remembered. But there was something in his desperation that made people pause. Something in his insistence that cracked through the funeral silence. He told us everything. The conversations, the documents, the corrupt doctor, the poison. And Auntie Blessing's face. For just a moment, her mask slipped. And in that moment, Emeka knew. He knew he was right. But here's where it gets impossible. Would anyone actually believe him? Would my family choose to stop a funeral based on the word of a man nobody knew? And if they didn't stop it, if they let Mama be buried, would she ever be found? What would you have done in that cemetery? The cemetery goes silent. Not the peaceful kind of silence. The kind where the air itself seems to hold its breath. Every eye is on Emeka. Every eye is on the rope. Every eye is on Auntie Blessing, whose composure, that perfect rehearsed composure, is starting to crack like old paint. She steps forward. Her voice is steady, practiced.
"He's grieving," she says, gesturing toward Emeka like he's unstable, unreliable, a man whose pain has broken his mind. "We all grieve differently, but we cannot disrespect the dead."
It's a masterpiece of manipulation. It really is. Because how do you argue with someone who's appealing to respect? How do you challenge a woman who's wrapping herself in tradition and propriety? The crowd starts to move with her. They start to rationalize. The burial must happen. It's getting late. We've already waited long enough. The body is already... But then, Tunde, my older brother, the one nobody ever really listens to because he's always been the quiet one, the one who left for Lagos and built his own life away from all of this, Tunde walks forward. And he doesn't ask a question. He doesn't debate. He just looks at the priest and says 4 words that change everything.
"We are stopping this burial."
The energy shifts. Auntie Blessing's face goes white. Not pale, white. Like all the blood has drained from it in a single second. And in that moment, I see something I've never seen before. I see my aunt without her mask. I see a woman who was one decision away from getting everything she ever wanted. And now that decision is crumbling in front of the entire town.
"Tunde," she says, and her voice is different now. It's pleading, it's desperate.
"What are you doing? Your mother..."
My mother
Tunde interrupts.
is going to the hospital.
The coffin is lifted. Auntie Blessing tries to grab it. Security. Why did security even come from? Gently moves her back. She's not fighting anymore. She's just standing there, and I realize something terrifying. She knows she's lost. Not because she believes my mother is alive, but because if anyone checks, if anyone runs tests, if anyone looks too closely at what happened, everything falls apart. We're in a convoy now. 3 vehicles. Mama's coffin in the first one, Tunde and I in the second, Auntie Blessing in the third, surrounded by family members who suddenly don't know what to do with her. The hospital is 40 minutes away. 40 minutes feels like 4 hours. My phone is buzzing. Messages, calls. The story is already spreading through town. They stopped the funeral. A groundskeeper said the mother was alive. Nobody knows what's happening. This is what chaos feels like. This is what it looks like when the truth starts to unravel everything. At the hospital, the doctor,
A man I've never met before. A man whose name I'd forget if this wasn't the moment everything changed. He looks confused when we arrive.
A coffin?
He says, staring at us like we're delusional. We explain. We tell him about Emeka, about the accusations, about the poison. He listens, and then he does something that takes 45 minutes but feels like it takes a lifetime. He examines my mother's body. He runs tests. He checks her vitals. He listens to her heart, and his face changes.
She's in a medically induced state.
He says quietly,
Not dead, not comatose, sedated, deeply sedated, beyond what any natural illness would cause. Her vital signs are present. They are faint, but they are there.
He looks at us, at me, at Tunde, at all of us standing around this coffin in a hospital morgue.
Your mother is alive.
Those words don't feel real. They don't sound real. My brother grabs my shoulder and I feel him shaking, not from relief, from rage, from the understanding that we were this close to burying our mother alive. But here's where it gets worse. Because now we're asking the question that nobody wanted to ask. How did she get like this? What was in that medicine Auntie Blessing gave her? And most importantly, what's the antidote? The doctor is making phone calls now. He's talking in low, urgent tones. He mentions poison. He mentions toxicology. He mentions a contact he has. Someone who's been studying slow-acting compounds used in medical contexts. Someone who might have information, might have answers. The word poison in a hospital is like throwing a match into dry grass. Suddenly, there are protocols. Suddenly, there are people. Suddenly, this isn't just a family tragedy anymore. This is a crime. And that's when Emeka appears in the doorway. He's still covered in cemetery dirt. He's still wearing those worn clothes, but now he's holding something. A small vial, clear liquid. His hands are shaking.
Give her this.
He says to the doctor,
It will counteract the compound. I know it will, because I know what she was given.
Everyone freezes.
How could you possibly know that?
The doctor asks, and Emeka tells us. He tells us everything. He'd noticed Blessing's late-night visit to the clinic storage room. He'd seen her photographing documents. He'd overheard conversations with a man he recognized from the hospital, Dr. Okafor, a physician who'd lost his license years ago for prescribing opioids to patients who didn't need them, for taking money under the table, for choosing profit over people. Emeka had watched them meet. He'd listened outside windows, and he'd recognized the poison. Or at least, he recognized what it was designed to do, mimic death so perfectly that even doctors would believe it.
My daughter.
Emeka says, and his voice cracks like old glass.
Died because someone in a position of power chose money over her life. I was powerless then. I was nobody. But when I saw what was happening to your mother, I knew I couldn't be powerless again.
The doctor takes the vial. He tests it. He confers with other doctors, and then, because this is a moment so crucial that it deserves to be held in silence for just a second, he administers it. We're waiting. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. The machines beep. The fluorescent lights buzz. And then, her finger twitches. It's small, almost imperceptible, but it's there. She's responding. The antidote is working. Her breathing becomes deeper. Her skin begins to warm. The monitor starts showing different numbers, better numbers. She's coming back. She's coming back from the dead. And then she opens her eyes. She's confused, groggy. She's asking what happened, why her mouth tastes like metal, why Blessing isn't in the room. We don't tell her yet. We let her wake up fully. We let her understand that she is alive. And then when she is ready, we tell her everything. The look on her face, I'll never forget it. It's not shock. Shock would be too simple. It's a kind of devastation that goes deeper than words. It's the realization that the person you trusted most in your life, your sister, your blood, your family, tried to murder you for money, for property, for the clinics, for the legacy you built. Call the police, she whispers. The investigation that follows is thorough. It's brutal. It's everything. The documents are found, forged. Blessing's fingerprints are on them. They find bank transfers, money changing hands between Blessing and Okafor. They find pharmacy records showing small quantities of a rare compound being purchased using credentials that Blessing had access to. They find hospital records showing that Dr. Okafor had already prepared a death certificate for Mama. All he was waiting for was the phone call. They find video footage from the clinic security cameras showing Blessing in the storage room at 2 a.m. photographing documents. They find phone records of her conversations with Okafor. They find a detailed plan written in her own handwriting, outlining how she would liquidate the clinics within 6 months, transfer assets to accounts in her name, and disappear. Everything was planned. Everything was calculated. Everything was going to work, except for one thing. A groundskeeper nobody was watching. A man so invisible that Blessing never even considered that he might be paying attention. But here's the thing about invisible people. Sometimes they see more than anyone else. Because when you are not being watched, you become an expert at watching. When nobody expects you to matter, you learn how to move through the world, noticing everything. You learn how to recognize the shape of injustice because you've lived through it. You learn how to see poison before it kills. The police take Auntie Blessing into custody when we're in the hospital waiting room when they do. She passes by us in handcuffs, and for a moment, her eyes meet mine, and I see it. The rage, the shame, the realization that she was so close that she almost succeeded, that now she's a prisoner because one person refused to be invisible. But we are not celebrating, not yet, because Mama is still in a hospital bed. The poison damaged more than just her consciousness. It did something to her body. The doctors say she'll recover, but it will take time. Weeks, maybe months. And they are not sure what the long-term effects will be. She's physically alive, but something else, something deeper, has been broken. Something about trust. Something about family. Something about the cost of building a legacy that makes you a target to the people closest to you. Emeka is sitting in the hospital corridor when I find him. He's been there for hours. I tell him thank you, and he just nods. Because what else is there to say? He saved my mother's life. He risked everything, his job, his safety, his anonymity to do it. And now he's just sitting in a hallway waiting for someone to tell him he can go home. I sit down next to him, and we don't talk about what happened. We don't need to. We're both thinking the same thing. How many other invisible people have seen injustice and stayed silent? How many groundskeepers and security guards and cleaners have known the truth and said nothing? How many people like Emeka have been powerless, have been watching, have been waiting for a moment to matter? But more importantly, what happens now? The crime is solved. The criminal is caught, but my mother's legacy is tarnished. My aunt tried to kill her for money, and a man who never supposed to matter just became the most important person in our family story. What does that change? What does that mean? The trial happens on a Tuesday in November. The courtroom is packed. Local news, national news. This is the story everyone is talking about now. A woman tried to murder her sister for an inheritance. It's the kind of betrayal that makes people question everything they thought they knew about family, about loyalty, about what someone is capable of when desperation meets opportunity. Auntie Blessing sits in the dock wearing a great dress that makes her look smaller than I remember. Older. She doesn't look like the woman who smiled at birthday parties anymore. She looks like someone whose entire life has collapsed into this single moment, this single chair, this single choice that can never be unmade. The evidence is presented, document by document, text by text, the forged inheritance papers, the conversations with Dr. Okafor, the pharmacy records, the slow poison that she mixed into Mama's medicine, drop by drop, night by night, waiting for the perfect moment. The prosecutor is methodical. He's not angry. He doesn't need to be. The facts speak for themselves. The evidence is airtight. But then something unexpected happened. Mama testifies. And instead of just describing the betrayal, instead of recounting the pain of being poisoned by her own sister, Mama does something that makes the entire courtroom go quiet. She talks about Blessing. Not to excuse her, but to explain her.
When we were children,
Mama says, her voice steady but tired,
I was the one who was seen, the smart one, the one with potential. Blessing was kind, but she was quiet. We didn't have much, but somehow what little we had seemed to go to me first. The better school, the opportunities, the recognition. And I think my sister watched that difference for 30 years. I think she watched me rise while she remained still. And I think something in her broke. Not because she was evil, but because invisibility, when it lasts long enough, can poison a person from the inside out.
She pauses, and you can feel something shift in the room. The jury is leaning forward. The judge is listening. Even the prosecutor seems to be reconsidering something.
I'm not excusing what she did.
Mama continues.
What my sister tried to do was unforgivable. But I am asking, if I had seen her more clearly, if I had made space for her success the way she made space for mine, would any of this have happened?
The courtroom is silent. The kind of silence where people are thinking about their own families, their own invisible siblings, their own resentments that have been quietly calcifying for years. Auntie Blessing is convicted. The evidence is too strong. The crime is too clear. She's sentenced to 8 years in prison. She'll be eligible for parole in 6. As she's being led away, she looks at Mama one more time. And Mama doesn't look away. She just watches her sister disappear into the back of the courtroom. And I see tears on her mother's face. Not tears of relief. Tears of something more complicated. Grief for the sister she lost to poison, both literal and metaphorical. But here's where the story doesn't end. Here's where it actually begins. 6 months after the trial, Mama called me into her office at the main clinic. She's still weak. The poison did something to her body that the doctors are still trying to understand. Some days she can barely get out of bed. Other days she's almost herself. But today, she's sitting at her desk and she has something to show me. It's a foundation proposal. A new organization dedicated to mental health services, addiction recovery, and community support for people in poverty. And the foundation bears a name, the Blessing Initiative.
I want to establish this in her name.
Mama says quietly.
Not because I forgave her, not because what she did was acceptable, but because I understand now that my sister's greed came from a place of deep, unhealed pain. And if I spend the rest of my life holding on to anger, then her poison wins. It wins twice.
I don't know what to say. This feels impossible. This feels wrong. This feels like too much forgiveness. But Mama explains, this isn't weakness. This is survival. This is the understanding that revenge is just another kind of death, and she's already died once. The foundation launches. It operates quietly, far from the headlines. It opens a clinic in one of the poorest neighborhoods in Enugu, staffed entirely by people who've lived through poverty, addiction, or mental health crisis. People who understand from the inside what it means to be invisible. People who might otherwise never get a chance. And then, Mama does something even more radical. She offers Emeka a job, not as a groundskeeper, as operations manager of the entire clinic network. He's shocked. He tries to refuse.
I'm not qualified,
he says, but Mama just smiles.
You are the most qualified person I know.
She tells him,
You saw what others missed. You acted when others wouldn't. You understand this work at a level that most people never will. You don't just see patients, you see humanity.
Emeka takes the job. Within months, he implements new oversight systems throughout all the clinics, not because he doesn't trust people, but because he understands that power without accountability corrodes. He hires people the world overlooks, formerly incarcerated individuals, people with addiction histories, people from communities that have been forgotten by the healthcare system. He gives them a chance, the same chance someone gave him. A year passes, then 2. Mama grows stronger, then weaker, then stronger again. The poison didn't kill her, but it changed her. Some days she moves slowly, like her body is remembering what it felt like to be dead. Other days you can see the old Naka, the healer, the builder, the woman who saw potential where others saw obstacles. But something else is changing too. Mama is having conversations with the prison. Blessing's release date is approaching. She's been a model prisoner. She spent the years in introspection, in therapy, in trying to understand why she became capable of such darkness. And Mama is asking, what happens when Blessing gets out? Where will she go? Who will hire her? How does someone rebuild a life after attempted murder, after betrayal so profound that it's become national news? The answer, Mama decides, is that she will offer her sister a second chance. She does something controversial. Before Blessing is even released, Mama announces that her sister will have a job at the Blessing Initiative. Not in a position of power, but in a meaningful role. Working directly with people in poverty, with people struggling with addiction, with people who've been invisible their whole lives. Working with the very people whose suffering Blessing ignored when she was consumed with envy. The internet explodes though. Some people call Mama weak, some call her foolish, some say she's betraying her own story. But others, people who understand something deeper about forgiveness, about redemption, about the possibility of transformation, they understand what Mama is doing. She's not forgiving Blessing because what Blessing did was forgivable. She's offering redemption because she understands that holding poison doesn't hurt the person who created it. It only poisons you. The day Blessing walks out of prison, I'm there with Mama. She's thinner now, frailer, but her eyes are still sharp, still fierce. Blessing emerges wearing a simple dress, blinking in the sunlight like someone who's been underground for years. She sees Mama and she starts to cry. Real tears, not manipulative tears. Tears of someone who spent years thinking about the person she tried to kill, about the sister she betrayed, about the woman who had every right to leave her in prison forever.
I'm sorry, Blessing says, and Mama just pulls her into an embrace. Not because everything is forgiven, but because they are both tired, they are both broken, and they are both choosing in this moment to carry their brokenness together instead of separately. But here's what I want to know. And I think you want to know too. What happens when someone comes back from prison? What happens when you try to rebuild a life after the world has seen you at your worst? What happens to a relationship that was murdered and then had to be resurrected? Not as it was, but as something entirely new. That's the question that keeps me awake at night. That's the question Mama lives with every single day as she watches her sister slowly, painfully, learn how to be human again. That's the question that makes me wonder, is forgiveness actually strength? Or is it just another kind of courage we don't have words for yet? Because here's what I know now, what this entire journey has taught me. The richest inheritance isn't property or clinics or money. It's not even legacy. The richest inheritance is the choice to see people, really see them. The invisible ones, the ones society has forgotten, the ones we walk past without noticing, the ones like Emeka, like Blessing, like everyone who's been invisible for so long that they almost became ghosts. So I'm asking you, when was the last time you really saw someone? When was the last time you looked at the person everyone overlooks and actually saw them? What would change if you did? Drop your answer in the comment.
Tell me about a time invisibility cost someone everything. Tell me about a time seeing someone change the story. Because this is more than just a story about one family. This is about all of us. This is about what we choose to see and what we choose to ignore. This is about the power we hold when we decide to pay attention. And if you felt something during this story, if you saw yourself or someone you love in Chioma, in Emeka, in Blessing, in Mama, please share this video. Because maybe someone out there needs to know that invisibility doesn't have to be permanent. That being overlooked isn't the same as being worthless. That redemption is possible even for those who've done the unforgivable. Subscribe, because we're just getting started. There are more stories like this. Stories about African families, African betrayals, African redemptions. Stories that deserve to be heard. And maybe, just maybe, if enough of us start seeing the invisible people in our own lives, we can change something real.